So if you ever felt just totally drained by a partner who only takes, or maybe you found yourself stuck in this endless loop of drama where your own life just seems to be falling apart, well, you are in exactly the right place today. We're going to break down the hidden psychological mechanics of why toxic relationships drain us so incredibly intensely. But we're not stopping there. We are also going to map out the incredible evolutionary leap, really a profound psychological journey that's required to not just break free, but to literally transform all of that exhaustion into a superpower.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to picture an invisible anchor, or maybe think of it like a glowing energy tether stretching across a massive chasm. That image perfectly captures what happens when you interact deeply with a person or their ideology. You see, you unconsciously bind your path directly to theirs, and it's a pretty harsh rule. If your partner is spiraling downwards, emotionally, financially, or psychologically, and you stay energetically synced up with them, you're going down with them. You inevitably share their destructive fate, completely anchored to their reality by that invisible tether.
Which brings us to Part 1, the Law of Attunement, the psychological principle keeping you trapped.
To actually cut that toxic tether, we have to establish a harsh but super liberating reality. If your life feels stuck and completely drained, you need to understand one absolutely vital truth. No miracle is coming to save you. As long as you remain synced to a destructive source, your life is going to continue exactly as it is right now. And this happens because of a highly specific, powerful psychological principle called the Law of Attunement. Now, this isn't just about spending time with someone. It is an ongoing, continuous process where we open ourselves up and unconsciously absorb another person's energy, their information, and their life events. When you live with a toxic partner, you aren't just hearing their words. No, you are unconsciously sinking into their distorted reality. You are literally breathing in their chaos and making it your very own.
Let's move on to Part 2, Rules of Energetic Connection, the mechanics of the drain.
So how exactly does the psychological drain operate day to day? How does it actually dismantle your peace of mind? Well, here are the core mechanics. First off, as we've seen, it's a continuous process that forces you to share their fate. But here is the massive misconception, and this is huge. Attunement is based on acceptance, not submission. So many people think, well, hey, I fight with my toxic partner all the time, so I'm obviously not submitting. But listen, by engaging in their arguments or respecting their distorted views enough to even debate them, you are actually accepting their reality into your field. You are attuning to it. And this whole dynamic is maintained by toxic rituals. You know the ones. The morning arguments, constantly walking on eggshells, that classic cycle of abuse and apologies. Those daily patterns are exactly what lock you right into their dark world.
And eventually, this leads to a really devastating internal collapse. You see, the average person has a bunch of different sources of attunement. You might be trying to attune into a healthy career, your own self-improvement, maybe just some peace and quiet, while simultaneously attuning to a vampiric partner. Honestly, it's like mixing completely incompatible ingredients. It's like trying to make a cake with bleach and ammonia. Your inner drive to grow constantly clashes with their endless need to take. Attempting to attune to positivity while your frequency is inextricably tied to someone who just drains you, that is always going to result in massive confusion, a huge internal crisis, and total collapse.
All right, Part 3, the Empath Evolution, transforming exhaustion into a quantum leap. So there is a way out, and it's not just about barely surviving, it's about evolving. It's an empowering hero's journey of psychological evolution. Now, this journey isn't instantaneous, right? It's a strictly sequential process of spiritual and mental transformation, essentially forged in the crucible of really intense life experiences. It maps out across 3 specific stages. First, the Pure Empath, which is the point of total exhaustion. Then, the Dismissive Avoidant, which acts as this necessary protective cocoon. And finally, the Healthy Autonomous Individual, which is a stage known as the Alchempath. So let's look at exactly how this transformation unfolds.
Stage 1, the overwhelmed Pure Empath. Think of the chaotic energy here, like uncontained watercolor paints just bleeding into each other on a canvas. At this starting point, the individual possesses this colossal gift of sensitivity, but they don't really know how to manage it yet. Their boundaries are entirely transparent. They absorb the atmosphere of a room so intensely that it literally physically affects them. They work to the point of absolute burnout, they try to rescue toxic partners, and they basically live in this chronic energy deficit until their system finally triggers an emergency protocol.
To save the individual from absolute destruction, the psyche executes a really radical maneuver. Welcome to Stage 2, the Dismissive Avoidant phase. The individual essentially puts on heavy concrete armor, cuts off their emotions, and retreats into strict isolation. Now, while it might feel incredibly cold, this is a totally necessary saving cocoon. The shock and the resentment from that toxic partner actually act as a sharpening stone. It forces the empath to violently close their boundaries just to stop the massive energy leak. This incubation period is absolutely essential to redirect their focus inward and reconnect with their core essence.
Which brings us to part 4, Rise of the Alchempath, the final form of the evolved empath. This is the really thrilling climax of the whole psychological journey. Once that inner center is fully restored, the defensive armor of avoidance just becomes obsolete. Contrast that earlier chaotic, bleeding watercolor energy with this new stage. Here, the energy is completely structured, defined by beautiful, solid golden lines. The colors are vibrant, but they're contained. This is the mature Alchempath. It's a literal evolutionary phenomenon. They have passed through the icy crisis of self-preservation and emerged into absolute protected autonomy. At this point, they are flawlessly balanced and, quite frankly, strategically invincible. So what makes them invincible? It's what we call their architecture of power, specifically how they manage their energy and informational hygiene. They know exactly how to switch the mode of their informational field. They can use scanning mode to openly gather implicit data about the world, instantly reading true motives and hidden emotions. But the very second toxicity appears, boom, they switch into autonomy mode. They close their energetic circuits, creating this really dense mental filter. Destructive programs and social manipulations just bounce harmlessly right off these boundaries.
And this brings us to the absolute ultimate formula for this evolved state. Maximum sensitivity to the world outside, plus absolute immovability within. They can deeply empathize, sure, but no one will ever be able to use their resources against their will again. Their personal space transforms completely. It goes from a defensive, avoidant bunker where they used to hide from pain into this clean, bright, creative studio. They become the true author of their life.
This mastery unlocks some incredible innate superpowers. We're talking about profound extrasensory perception, the ability to read the hidden layer of reality far outside of just words and masks. They develop a deep intuition that processes microsignals way faster than logic ever could. They possess this wise, multidimensional mindset that sees a complex system of interconnections everywhere. But honestly, perhaps most importantly, they master recycling emotional noise. So instead of accumulating other people's mental debris like a regular empath would, they utilize grounding. They just let information pass right through them, extracting only the clean meanings while completely neutralizing the emotional charge.
So how does this actually build into practical daily application? Because let's face it, you don't always have the luxury of immediate physical distance from a toxic person. But as an evolving Alchempath, your most powerful tool is this. You can communicate without attuning. You can share a physical space, you can literally live in the same house and exchange basic information without ever letting their reality into your soul. You have to stop forcing a connection. Switch to a completely detached perception. Be the gray rock. You can talk to them for sure, but keep your inner doors locked tight.
So the really crucial point here is this. The most important task you have right now isn't trying to figure out who to tune into next. It's doing a connection audit today. Look at the deep, unrecognized, automatic connections that are shaping your emotions and your problems. I want to leave you with this really important question. Whose reality are you tuned into? Because if your life is not satisfying you right now, it's time to act. Cut those invisible cords. Unplug from their matrix. Stop sharing the fate of someone who only takes, and step fully into your own autonomy.